Hey guys, we're back and we're working on the heroes. This might take more than one slideshow. We're only going to get through two of the heroes today, but there you go. So this is the next installment of the COVID lectures for Cal State Long Beach. So today we're going to be looking at Jason and Perseus. Obviously that's a different Jason. That's Jason Momoa. But I like the ram in the back, so that's significant. But the other one is in fact Perseus. So we're going to do both of those. The first one we're doing is Jason and the Argonauts. This is common. This is one of the stories that went all around Greece, and you see it a lot of times, different scenes from it painted on vases and whatnot. Maybe based in some historical bits and pieces that we'll talk about a little bit later on, but don't get too married to the story being historical, all right? So first of all, we have to talk about how Jason meets a lot of his crew. So this goes into the Caledonian boar hunt. There was a boar that was sent by Artemis, there you go, and it was ravaging the Caledonian people, the people of Caledon. The king failed to honor Artemis, and so somebody had to be killed for it. Enter a bunch of heroes, stage right, in order to get the Caledonian boar taken care of, right? So there's this giant boar hunt. The big prize is going to be the hide of the Caledonian boar. So there is no complete story, but Ovid, who is a much later writer, he is Roman, he pulls a bunch of pieces together and he retells it. We know that the Caledonian boar destroyed crops and forced people to shelter inside the city walls, not entirely unlike today, and they ended up starving. That is not like today, but they end up starving because they don't have access to crops or herds. So we have Oeneus, the Caledon king, who sends for his best hunters, and of course the prize was the boar hide. Atalanta was there. So remember, she is the Greek kind of heroine, one of the few female badasses in stories. There were a bunch of guys who refused to hunt with her, so she ends up fighting with them. The king's son, Meleager, convinces them to hunt with her, but she is the first to wound the boar with an arrow. And so when the boar finally does die, because she drew first blood, she's supposed to get the hide. But the same hunters that did not want to fight with her get all kinds of pissed off again. It's not right for a woman to... Meleager eventually kills them, including his uncle, and gives her the hide. So he takes it for her. Unfortunately, his mother is not too happy about this, so his mom and sister to the slain dudes ends up killing her son. So at the end of the day, Artemis gets her revenge in a lot of different ways. So who was there? Well, it turns out a bunch of people were there, and it's a bunch of people that we're going to end up caring about for some reason or another. First of all, of course, you have Jason. Then we have Meleager, the son of the king, and we also have the Dioscuri, which we have encountered before. We have Peleus, Orpheus, Laertes. Laertes is Odysseus's dad, and so we care about him because of the Odyssey. And a bunch of other people were also on the boar hunt. So the golden fleece came from a ram that used to belong to Hermes, right? And the golden fleece is what Jason eventually goes after. So it belonged to Hermes, probably belonged to Apollo before that. Remember the story between Hermes and Apollo when Hermes was born? Anyway, a goddess, Nephele, had to rescue her son and daughter, Phrixus and Helle, from their stepmom, who had turned the community against them, probably through some nasty rumors, if I recall correctly. The ram was supposed to fly them away from Thebes to Colchis. Helle, unfortunately, fell off and fell into the sea. Phrixus got to Colchis, and as soon as he got there, he dutifully and piously sacrificed the ram with its golden fleece to the gods and thanks, and then he put the hide in a sacred grove of Ares, where a really big-ass serpent guarded it. so nobody could get to it. So Jason has to go get the fleece. Why is this? Jason, years later after the sacrificing of the ram, Jason is born in Iolcus in Thessaly to a man named Aeson. He is sent basically to boarding school with Chiron, like you do, I guess, if you can afford to do that, or if you have the connections to do that. Chiron, of course, is the friendly and wise centaur, not Charon, the ferryman in the afterworld. That's a different thing. Chiron, the wise centaur, Chiron educates him and teaches him how to fight and do all kinds of really important stuff in the ancient world. He goes on the wild boar hunt. As a man, he comes home to claim the throne, but he loses his sandal along the way, and this becomes important because when he gets there, his dad's brother has usurped the throne, right? So this is Jason's uncle, Peleus. Unfortunately for Peleus, there was an oracle, like there is. There's always an oracle. The oracle said that Peleus would be killed by a man with one shoe. Or rather, I think the oracle went something like a man with one shoe will undo you, kind of a thing. So Peleus looks at Jason and says, I'm not giving up the throne. You know, now is a good time for a quest, and sends Jason off on this giant quest for the Golden Fleece. This is probably going to be fatal because it's a long way away, and of course the fleece is being guarded by this giant serpent, and the chances of the king of the area near the Black Sea being willing to let go of it is probably slim to none. So if you're able to get this fleece for our kingdom, you can have the throne, whatever. But since you're probably going to die, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Seemed to be his attitude, he seemed to say. So Athena is actually on his side. Athena has his back, and she helps him out because she is the friend of heroes. She gets a really good ship builder to build the Argo, right? So Naut is the N-A-U-T is the root for sailor. So Argo is the ship, so they are the Argonauts. Get it? Huh? Okay. So she gets him a really good shipbuilder. This was supposedly the first Greek longship, right? And it even contained a plank from Dodona where Zeus's oracle was. So the ship could supposedly produce oracles as well. Step 2, Athena helped him get a crew of 50 amazing guys to help row the ship. Long ships are not very helpful if you don't have a rowing crew, right? The wind will only take you so far. Fortunately, a bunch of the guys he met on the Caledonian boar hunt agree to go with him. Plus, he gets Hercules, which is really handy to have the strongest man on the planet at the oar for your ship. Super handy. So along the way, of course, they have adventures. He meets a guy named Phineas. He is a blind dude in Thrace, and unfortunately, he has been cursed by Zeus with harpies, these kind of female winged creatures, and they're tormenting him because he blinded his own sons on the advice of a wicked stepmother, right? It's always the second wife. I don't know why, but there's always a wicked stepmother. The wicked stepmother told him he needed to blind his sons, and so Zeus blinded him and sent the harpies to torment him. So upon driving the harpies away, Phineas gives them favorable winds as a gift, which is really, really handy when you are sailing, when you're at sea. They end up on the Isle of Lemnos, and you may recall this from our stories with Aphrodite. They did not honor her, right? So the women of Lemnos did not honor Aphrodite, and so she sends them a horrible, horrible rank odor, and all of the men are driven away. By the time the Argonauts get there, the guys of the Argonauts, the stink has gone away. Unfortunately, the Argonauts get there, the women want to have children and have been alone for too long, and of course there are a bunch of guys on a ship and they're alone for too long, and there's this really hardcore temptation to stay on the island. they resist. They get going. They get away. So almost disaster, but it does give the women from Lemnos at least a chance to bear children, which is really important in the ancient world. They get to the island of the Mysians. Now, this is a place where something really interesting happens because Hercules leaves them at this point. Seriously. Hercules loses his lover, a male lover, by the way. He loses his lover to some water nymphs on the island, and so he, instead of getting back on the ship after resting up, he stays on the island to go looking for Hylas, his love interest at the time. So Hercules leaves the party pretty early on, which seems like a kind of a letdown, but whatever. Finally, they get to Colchis, their goal. The king did not, of course, want to hand over the fleece, and this is shocking, right? Oh, I have a divine fleece, and you want to take it away. Oh, no, I'm not letting you do that. But he agrees to hand it over. Again, Jason will get his way, but he has to go through a few potentially fatal tasks to get what he wants. So here we go, more tasks for Jason. Number 1, plow a field. But you have to do it with 2 murderous, fire-breathing oxen that want to kill you. Yay! Task 2. You're going to sow some seeds, or rather the seeds of a serpent, and this serpent seeds will spring forth giants, which are going to fight you and try to kill you. Excitement number 2. Excitement number 3, task number 3, you have to fight the giants and kill them all, which of course seems like quite an impossible task. Altogether, all 3 of them are, difficult. Fortunately, however, Athena steps in again, and Athena strikes a deal with Eros, and Eros hits Medea, the daughter of the king, with an arrow, a golden arrow. And remember the difference, we have golden arrows and lead arrows. Golden arrows make you fall desperately in love with the next person you see. Lead arrows repulse you. She gets hit with a golden arrow, and the next person she sees is, of course, Jason. So she ends up helping him, and Medea knows magic. So she has the tools to help him. So she gives Jason some hardcore, high-level sunscreen to protect him from the fire of the bulls. She advises him to throw stones among the giants so that they will kill each other. So they pick up the stones and just start killing each other. So job done, right? All 3 tasks taken care of, all good. But Aeetes, the king, still won't give up the fleece, and he tries to burn the Argo, the ship, so that Jason cannot leave. Because Medea wants to marry him, and it'd be good to have him as a son anyway. He seems like a good guy. He wants him for a son, but that's not going to happen either. So Medea further helps him. She shows him where the fleece is, and she helps him get it by giving him another drug for the snake that guards it that will put the snake to sleep. So he can go in there and just grab the fleece and be done. He goes back to the Argo, but the king's fighters actually follow him. Medea again steps in and saves his ass for what? The 3, 4, 5th time, something like that. She slows the fighters and kills her brother in the process, unfortunately, and then she flees with Jason back to Colchis as his wife. Seems like a fair trade. Of course, they have a lot more adventures going home. They stop in different areas, and there's all kinds of little stories around Jason and the Argonauts. So you very often, if you do a lot of work in mythology, you'll hear a story here, a story there. Jason did this, Jason did that. And these are all stories on the way to and from. He tried to stop in Crete and rest for supplies. But there was a bronze man that had been created for Minos, or given to Minos by Hephaestus. And the bronze man ran around the island guarding it and would not let them dock. But Medea again kills, comes to Jason's help, or comes to his aid, and kills the bronze man with another magic potion. She's really helpful to him. I just want to point this out. And he could have done none of this. None of this would have been possible without her. So when we get to the end of the story, I want you to try to think about it from her perspective, because she does some really terrible things, but I kind of understand why. All right, so we get back home, only not so fast with claiming your prize. Peleus still will not give up the throne, and he had Jason's dad killed. So now he has committed fratricide and he has stolen the throne. So Medea takes another potion to convince Peleus's daughters. He has, I think it's 2 daughters, that if they kill him and boil him and eat them, they will be eternally young. Right? So it's like a mind trip drug of some kind. His daughters actually do it. They kill their father and eat him. Unfortunately, that means that they are now guilty of patricide, and that's a huge crime. So that's a problem, and they go to jail. And Jason gets the Jason gets the crown, but he actually refuses it, and he gives it to Peleus' son Acastos. So Jason has now done all this stuff for the crown, but then he decides not to take the crown. What is up with that? Jason and Medea end up settling in Corinth because Corinth had been given to his father by Helios, the sun. They live happily ever after with 3 sons, happily ever for at least 10 years. But then Jason falls for a younger, cuter, whatever, named Glauce, the young daughter of Creon, the king of Corinth at the time. And he leaves Medea, which is a huge mistake, because now you've pissed off the witch. You've pissed off the woman who can put a giant serpent to sleep, who can create potions to protect you against fire, who can slow an army. She kills a bronze dude, and she convinces young ladies to kill their father and eat them. Why would you piss this woman off? That's what I want to know. What are you thinking? I would venture to say you're not thinking at that point, right? So this is a huge mistake, and of course Medea is pissed off. And if you think for 1 minute she's not going to bring all of her powers to bear on this, yeah, you'd be wrong, and you're probably Jason. Okay. So what happens? Medea gets a fancy new robe and a crown, and gives it to young Glauce and says, "Oh, you're going to be, queen. It'll be great, and blah 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 blah, because you're the daughter of the king, and then Jason will be king, and yada yada. Have this beautiful crown and robe for yourself. No hard feelings. Gotta go." But of course, it's poisoned, and Glauce dies. Dies like this horrible, horrible death, being eaten away by her own cloak and crown. Ugh. So then Medea turns her attention to her 3 boys that she has had by Jason. And she's so pissed off that she kills them in front of Jason, their father. Rude. So rude. She then gets in her chariot, which is pulled by dragons. And I'm just saying, if you know your wife has a chariot pulled by dragons, probably don't piss her off. I'm just going to put it out there. She gets in her chariot and she goes off to Athens because she is a bitchy badass. That's who she is. All right. We do have some interesting links here to the ancient world. The story is very similar to a story about fleece and the god Telepinu from the Hittite region. The Hittites are up there near the Black Sea and Caucasus. They're in Turkey, all over Asia Minor. and they have some similar stories. It may also reflect some of the voyages east by the Greeks, especially the Mycenaeans, right? So they're exploring going east, and so they may have encountered these stories and encountered some really interesting, weird things that they didn't know and understand, so they talked about them. And there's some evidence suggesting that in that area, in the area around Colchis, people panned for gold in rivers using sheepskin. So this might give rise to why the fleece was golden, right? If you had little tiny gold flecks in there, it would make it sparkle a little bit and be very attractive. All right, our next hero is going to be Perseus. We're running a little short today, so it's okay. We're going to make this a quick one. So Perseus, remember Athena is his friend too. So Perseus and the Medusa, here we are with him taking the head off of Medusa, and Athena's behind him. This is a really, really old piece of art. So the legend of Perseus goes way, 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 way back in Greek history, before the Dark Ages and well into the later classical period. So the story starts with his mother, Danae, or Danae, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Danae, I don't know. So Perseus himself and his mom were believed to have existed in the generation before the Trojan War. So the generation even before Hercules. So this is a very, very old story. His dad was supposed to be Danaus, his mom Danae, and he was supposed to be the son of Argonaut, not Argonaut, but Argos, Argoloid royalty. However, some say that he had divine parentage and he was possibly the son of Zeus. And again, we have another prophecy that dad is going to be killed by his grandson. And so what does he do? He imprisons his daughter in a bronze cage, right? So he imprisons his daughter so that she will not have a son. But Zeus enters via a golden rain or a golden shower. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to walk away from Zeus as a golden shower. Her dad, when she comes out and she's pregnant or has had the child, depending on the story, her dad, of course, does not believe that she, Zeus came to you as a golden shower and you became pregnant in your prison. That's awfully awkward. He put her and her newborn baby son in a wooden chest and he threw it out to sea. Now Zeus sees this, his lover and his child in danger, and he puts in a good word with Poseidon, and Poseidon calms the seas, and the chest washes up on shore of an Aegean island. The two are found by fishermen, who then take them in. However, a little bit later on, the king of the area, Polydectes, wants Dana and he wants her as a wife, but Perseus keeps getting in the way and she doesn't want to give up her son, and the king isn't willing to share her affections or whatever, her energy, there you go, her time. And so he looks to Perseus, he's looking at Perseus trying to figure out a way to get rid of the kid. Perseus decides to make a boast, like you do. Like a young adolescent kid might do. I can totally slay Medusa. I could totally do that. Psh, easy. Duh. So the king looks at Perseus and essentially says, I double dog dare you. If you lose, I get your mom. If you win, the marriage is off. All right. Remember, women don't really have agency in this period. So the fact that the king wants to marry her is a good marriage. She does not have the authority to deny it of her own will. And Perseus is too young to fight the king. So it's a very weird balance they got to strike there. So he has to kill Medusa in order to save his mother. He does get help from Athena and Hermes. And they tell him go to those three ladies that we talked about earlier, the Graiai. They are wise, and they are sisters of the Gorgons. So Perseus goes over, and of course you remember the Graiai have one eye and one tooth amongst them. So he steals their eye, and in exchange for getting it back, they have to give him information on where Medusa is and how to kill her. He also wants to know, there's a bunch of nymphs that have possession of Hades' helmet of invisibility. And they also have Hermes' winged sandals, and they might have a special bag for him to put the Medusa head into, because a Medusa head cannot be handled by a standard grocery bag, right? You got to have something really heavy duty for that one. So he finally gets the information from them, and he gives them their eye back, because that was rude to take it in the beginning. He gets it all together. Once he has the helmet of invisibility, the winged sandals, and the bag, Hermes then comes in with another weapon of adamantine. Adamantia, get it? Or adamantium? Something like that was in Marvel. But this is adamantine. It's basically, this is where they're getting some of their material. Adamantium, thank you. So he gets this weapon of adamantine to sever Medusa's head. All right, super strong, super sharp, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Think of Wolverine. All right. He flies to the north where the Gorgons are, and they are kind of at the edge of the world. He crept in on Medusa with his helmet of invisibility and slices off her head. One of the stories goes that he goes in backwards with a bronze shield, but so if he's invisible, he doesn't have to do that. That's a different tradition. And of course, from her neck, you get Chrysaor and Pegasus. The two sisters end up chasing him off, and with the help of Athena, he escapes, and Perseus gets away to go back home. On his way home, because of course we can't just go back home, on his way home, he goes to this island, Seriphos, and he sees a princess chained to a rock. Her name is Andromeda. Right? Another name you might recognize if you're a sci-fi nerd. Why is she chained to the rock? Well, she's the daughter of Cephas and Cassiopeia. They are the king and queens of Ethiopia. And they have somehow pissed off Poseidon because the queen boasted about her beauty being greater than the Nereids. So in order to appease Poseidon, they have to sacrifice their daughter, Andromeda. Perseus offers a deal. He says, if I can get rid of the monster, if I kill the monster, can I have your daughter as a wife? Because she's really pretty, and apparently that's all that really matters. If you're Andromeda, you're like, whatever, just get me off this rock. I'll be happy with whatever. It's not a monster. So Perseus, he has all the weapons to do this, of course, and he kills the monster, which is really handy. He uses the head of Medusa to do it, and you can see in the picture the Medusa's head is in his hand, and he turns the monster to stone. He does eventually get home. Not before he gets home, I'm sorry. Phineas, the brother of the king, blocks the marriage. So this is a different Phineas. Phineas blocks the marriage. So Perseus turns Phineas into stone as well. So he goes back home, and he learns that Polydectes has been abusive towards his mother. He has been mean to her, probably physically abusive. Let's face it, it's the ancient world. It wouldn't be all that shocking to find out that might happen. So Perseus then turns him to stone as well, right? So he says, hey, you know what? I'll show you the head of Medusa. And but hey, well, look, it's right here. And there goes the king turned to stone. And he gives the head of Medusa then to Athena, and that becomes the center of her aegis, right, on her shield. All right. That's all we've got for this one. I'm going to drop another one this week. I almost forgot. Acrisios, his grandfather, right, that was supposed to be killed by his grandson. He fled to save himself. Acrisios, the father of Danae, flees the area. Not sure why. I didn't catch the details on that, and I can't remember them now. So he is out and about. He's running around as a regular person. He gets into a sporting event with Perseus. Perseus accidentally kills him. He is racked with guilt, and he leaves his own throne and goes to become king of the Tyrans, which is another area, and he ends up founding Mycenae. So he gives up his throne, picks up another throne, and founds a whole new city. He does stay with Andromeda. They have 4 sons, one of which is Electrion, and he has a son named Alcmene, and he has Hercules. So Perseus is the great-grandfather of Hercules. So there you go. Except that Zeus is the father of Hercules. Remember when I said these were not consistent and there were multiple traditions going on? Yeah, there you go. That's how it looks. That's what it looks like when you're confused about it and you're like, wait a minute, this didn't happen. It did happen, but it was just in a different story. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this was a short video. Sorry about that. I thought it would last longer, but there you go. I will drop another one this week, and I will see you all soon, hopefully, back on campus next semester. Please don't forget to register. We will be going back. I don't have this on any authority. It's just my optimism, but I'm sticking with it. We're going to be back on campus next semester, and everything will be okay. All right. We're still going to have complications, but we'll figure it out. All right. Have a good day, guys. I will see you later. Bye.